Hello there. My name is Castor, and this is where my coven meets at night. We practice our spells, brew potions, and study tomes like the one before me. So many stories fill its pages, new ones appearing out of thin air when I'm not looking. I can read you one if you'd like. Could you please grab those dice next to you? This one's going to need some audience participation. It's a cozy adventure story about a young band of adventurers setting off on their first quest. It should be smooth sailing, but you never know what kind of troubles you'll end up in. If you like this story and want to hear more, you can support our coven on Patreon and hear new stories early, as well as some bonus stories only seen there. Now, get comfortable and let's begin. First missions can be tough for any adventurer. The bards seem to get it even worse. You're used to playing your harp on stage for a small crowd, but now your audience could be a whole clan of goblins. Your fellow party members assure you, this job will be an easy one. But it always helps to be prepared. You've never met each other before, but you fall into conversation like old friends. One is a dwarf mage, stout and gruff, with a sense for the magics that guide the world. The other is an elf with a light step, perfect for their line of work. You've been on the road for a few days now, your destination in view. There was a time that the trees would part for travelers to see that bright castle on the hill, but the trees now ruled over it. Its brick walls seemed no older than the stone it was built on, its red color overtaken by green moss. Towers reached from the forest like fingers, with empty doors open to bridges that had not existed in centuries. It was all so very still. You walk across the gap on a bridge, just as old as the castle, but in much better shape. Vines wrapped around its supports, keeping the stone from leaving its place. Birds sang from someplace down the canyon you walked across as a breeze graced your cheek. The front gate loomed above you as a tongue of stone steps crisscrossed down the slope. Water still came from the aqueducts underneath the stairs, trickling down into the river below. This entrance once greeted kings of old, many fine knights and ladies who were carried here by horses or even eagles. You felt their travels beneath your feet as the stones seemed to remember their footprints. The halls inside were no different. The roof had fallen long ago, light cascading in great beams to the floor. Carpets of grass had grown over the marble in large patches, swallowing up the ornate design. Something more alive echoed in these great halls. A slumber so great that the hills shook ever so slightly. You knew that's where you were heading. The dragon slept in a great vault just under the old throne room, many tears in the floor opening a hole for all the great silks and gold thrones to fall into the room below. You've never seen a creature this large before, its coiled body larger than any tavern or guild hall you've played. The dragon's scales had been a fiery red in its youth, but all the color had drained and left a bone white in its place. You could feel the snoring in your chest as it breathed in and out, over and over, not even realizing you were looking over him. What are you to him anyway? His teeth are taller than you. The dwarf sets his notes and scrolls down, pulling out several thin candles. He places them on cracked marble, and he mutters to himself, pouring a ring of salt between the different objects. He lit the candles with a wave of his hand, and sat down between them, still casting a spell with his voice. A blue light caught the corner of your eye, the glint coming from the creature's horns. This dragon loved to drape itself in all kinds of glittery things. Hundreds of necklaces hanging down from its branches. There was only one thing you came for here, an amulet that belonged to a small noble family. It was thought to glow bright when called by a ritual. The dwarf nods to you. It's time to weave your magic. Roll a performance check to see how well you play your sleep spell. You roll a 4. The sight of such an intimidating beast makes you unsure of your performance, fingers not matching what you tell them to do. The notes come out wrong and they crash off the walls. There was a stirring beneath. The dragon has awoken. Your companions head out of the ruined throne room, hiding behind a wall as the dragon's head rises from the vault beneath. Looking around, the only thing you can do is drop down into the hole. You close your eyes and jump, rolling off the gold pile and hiding behind the old king's throne. It breathed out sharply as it scanned the area, half-lidded, smoke billowing out in a short burst. The eyes underneath glowed a fierce yellow, the color fair ladies would be forced to dress in. It would be garish in the dragon's younger years, but now it gave off a fierce impression. You can see its wings have not been used in at least a century, quite frail next to the rest of their body. The dragon had no reason to leave this spot, being able to hibernate for much longer than any other creature. All it needed to do was keep its wits and claws sharp. It nestled back down, swinging its head over yours. Some time passed. The dragon slumbered, telling your party they could approach without fiery backlash. They peered into the hole to see you, the elf moving to set up a climbing rope. The dwarf motioned to play your spell again, to make sure the elf can approach. Roll and see if you can keep your nerves steady. You roll a 13. You take a breath and play like you practiced, the song coming out light and calm. The dragon enters a nice deep sleep. The dragon enters a nice deep sleep. The elf swings down on the rope now, trying to reach the amulet on the dragon's horn. No matter how far they reach, they cannot grab it. No matter how far they stretch, they cannot grab it. They slide down next to you on the vault floor, thinking it best to climb the gold pile and grab the treasure that way. Coins sift as they put their foot down, trying to balance. Another foot down, another step taken towards the goal. Their next step was not as sound, coins shooting out as they caught themselves. A plume of smoke came from the dragon again, as he started to wake once more. The thief backed up, your spell not strong enough for someone else to take the treasure. It has to be you. Stepping up to the hoard, the amulet hangs right ahead. Roll to see if you make it. You roll a 20. There's a confidence in your magic that you will succeed, which pushes you up the mountain of gold. You stop right next to the dragon's hide, its scales interlocking like threads of fabric. The amulet dangled right above you as you halt your song playing long enough to pull it from the creature's horn. You move slowly, making sure not to touch the other jewelry. You've got it in your hand now as you slide back down to the elf, who's already heading up the rope. The dwarf gives you a hand at the top, and you all head to the castle foyer before celebrating. You feel a power coming from the amulet, far beyond anything your fledgling party has known. The dwarf asks to see it. You hand it over and watch him fiddle around with it. Taking a piece of chalk, they write on its silver back, asking for its secrets. The elf questions this, wanting to return to the tavern and get the reward. The dwarf pulls away, saying it's important research. You convince them to study it on the way back. Venturing out the gates you first entered, you realize that you finished your first ever quest. You don't know if this will be your forever party, but you'll always remember them regardless. A wonderful story, don't you think? If you haven't had your fill, there's more on our Patreon right now. Thank you to everyone who came to listen, and please come back when you want to hear a nice, cozy story.